Okay, so this is the Digital Business Lecture for November the 27th, 2014. And I'll just be going over some things in summary and then going deeper into the job roles and what you should be thinking about for the assignment that is coming up. So the roles that you've taken on actually do translate into roles in the corporate world, and this is what they are. The entrepreneur is the leader. The customer role, while you're focusing a lot on customer research, it's because there's a startup. But what you're most interested in is sales. Customer is not some woolly kind of creature, and I'll be sharing stories with you from the news about what happens if you lose sight of your customer. So you really need to dig in right now and look and have an idea of who your customer is. They are your best friend, and you need to know everything about them. The revenue generator is your finance person. This is the person that keeps track of all the money and forecasts where money might come in. Now, the finance person does not go and get those numbers. Those numbers are given to the finance person by the customer person, the design person, the entrepreneur, all the people that get together to get these numbers. And what the revenue person does is pretty much just figure out how much money are we burning, in other words, how much money are we spending and how much money are we bringing in, and usually in a startup that would be a negative figure, and that's pretty much the money you need. But the entrepreneur might say, oh, we would never get that much, so how much do we need to get to X? And then you figure out how much you need to get to X, and that's how much money you might look for, and that is milestone development. So that's what we're going to be looking at a little bit more, but just to take a breath and to summarize the entrepreneur role, what he does. The entrepreneur is the leader, the vision, spots needs in the market, gaps, opportunities, niches. They look out for competition because there's no point in launching another supermarket right now, for example. Calculates how much money you need, and this is, again, we need this much perhaps to get to global domination, but for global domination there's a lot of little steps along the way, and what you're looking at is those baby steps, and the steps are quite small, and because the money you get initially is quite small, but then the steps get larger because the money you get is larger as you go along, because the further you are down the path, the more you have to prove that you might be a success, therefore the more money you get. So the entrepreneur's always got this in mind, trying to figure out where the different sources of money might be. You become very, very money focused. You know what your design is and all of that kind of stuff, but you can get other people doing that. But no one will have as much of a sense of where you might get that money than you, because you are totally embedded and invested in the business. And unfortunately, the entrepreneur during development is usually the last one to get paid. You make a lot of money later, but in the early days, you're the last one to get paid. I certainly haven't made much from my business. So the entrepreneur makes a plan for, again, how much money are you likely to get? Are you going to get a grant for 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand? How far will that money take you? Because you always have to tell the investors, okay, if you're going to give me 10 grand, I'm going to do this with it, and at the end of it, we're going to get to X, and we will be able to do Y because we've gotten to X. So you always have that continuum in your sights. And where the money you've got, you're going to spend, so where are you going to get the next pot of money? Because if your whole thing grounds to a halt, you'll lose your whole team, because everyone needs to make a living. So that's what thinking in milestones is. And milestones is a word that has come up through the agile production management methodology, which is really useful for technology because it is an iterative process. Do you know what that means, iterative? That means that you build the technology to a certain point where you can test it on users. And so you're always having something that's called shippable. So, whatever you do, you can give to people to try, or you can show people. It's not like it used to be the waterfall method, like if you think of building a car. You build all the different parts, the chassis, the fuel pump, all that kind of stuff, and then you have an assembly line where that car is put together, and then at the very end of a very long process you have a car. That's not the way technology is done. The way technology would be is that you would get the windows going, and then you test that the windows work, and you would get the doors going, and you test that the doors work, and every single time you'd have to have a mini kind of car. It doesn't work with old style manufacturing, which had to, you were building big things. But with new technology development, it does work because you've got to always test it on users. Technology, it's like, you know, after they finish the car, they do road tests. They do road tests for safety, they do road tests for drivability, you know, you test everything. But in technology, you have the ability of testing as you go. And so you must do that because you must always keep focused on what? Why do you do all this testing?
To make sure it works and it meets the requirements.
Of who? Whose requirements?
The customer.
The customer! Yay! My answer to everything, every time I ask you a question, just say the customer! It's the customer! I come from Toronto, which is quite close to New York City, and in between Toronto and New York City is the Borscht Belt, is the Catskills, you know, those films where all the Jewish kids go into the mountains and then they have romances and things like that. Well, that's so there's funny little songs, but it, you know, and little sayings, and Billy Crystal's comedy routines are always based around this Jewish merchant kind of iconography. And there are songs. There's a song that one of my friends sings, who's from upstate New York, and it's pile the cold cuts high, customers must see salami poking through the rye. So everything you do is customers, you know, so that's, keep getting that in your mind. So customers must see the salami poking through the rye. It's not that you want to make the salami poking through the rye, it's the customers want to see the salami poking through the rye. So you got to make sure it's there. So now, is your customer a vegetarian? Then you're building the wrong thing, you're looking for the wrong customer, right? Because this customer wants to see salami poking through the rye. So this is why it's an iterative process, this is why you do customer service, this is why you are always focused on that, and when you do milestones, you're always thinking about testing it prior to a commercial release in the marketplace. There is some kind of myth right now that you should just build it and get it out there. And I think this is taking the agile methodology of testing it on your customer into a very dangerous area. Because if you just build it and kind of get it out there, number one, people can steal it because it's not quite ready. They can steal the essence of the idea that you haven't quite gotten right yet. And then you've got people forming a first impression of your company that isn't true because you haven't quite finished it yet. So I think the way that it really means is that you build it and you test it on as many users as possible. You keep changing it, you keep building it, and maybe every time you build it you get a new pot of money in so that you can build it further. And then once you have tested and you know it works, then you get it out on the market. So that's what you're working towards. And you don't really know how many iterations of the thing it's going to take to get to the market, but I would estimate it's between 5 and 7 fully tested iterations, possibly more. And that's what you do. You're proving the design. That's another thing you can get money for. You can do up all your design, and how do you prove your design? Well, you might have a trial of the design, you might build a prototype. You can get money for proof of design if what you're designing really feels a need in the marketplace. You can get money for that. You can also get money to get your technology ready for a trial, RCT, or to comply with some kind of regulation. So how much money do you need? Well, it's a balance of how much money the design and product cost to make and how quick you can begin to earn money. And all the ways you have of bringing in cash. There might be grant funding that you can get. There are pre-orders from customers that you can get. Sometimes your customer will fund you. And so, you know, so you're thinking in these kinds of milestones, and it just means goal. What's the next thing you have to do? What's the next task? So you have the overall goal for the business, which is your vision statement, but then you have these smaller goals. And that's what you're trying to work out as a team, what these smaller goals might be. And this is what the revenue person is looking at, is, you know, how quickly can you get that money in? And then the revenue person is also looking at the big picture, is how much money can you earn in a year? If you say it's going to take you a year to get to market, how much money are you going to earn in that year? And therefore, how much money when can the investor get return? Because for the investor, it's all about return. And this is when investor, and that's ROI. And what is ROI? It's return on investment. So how are you going to calculate that? This is where the finance comes in. It's a cash flow. And it's a cash flow, let's see, maybe in the next one I will do insert a table. Maybe, can I insert a table? Insert table. Okay, we can stick one in here, can we? Insert table. No, I'll do it on the next, okay. So it's called a cash flow, and it's often, if you're doing for investors, you're often looking at, it's 3 to 5 years, broken up into quarters. And at the top is income, the top half, and then the bottom is expenses. And expenses usually are two types. Expenses equals, and the bottom is expenses. So you have your design expenses, which are directly related to production. And then you have your overheads. Now, how are you going to calculate your overheads? Your design costs, this comes from the designer. So the designer, if we just do another slide, let's go here, let's go home, we got a new slide. So from the design point of view, you're going to have to figure out the costing. So how do you cost the design? Again, you're going to be thinking in milestones. And you're going to be meeting with finance. And you're going to figure out, so you've usually got, what are the components that you need to have. So for example, for the tablet, we need to source tablets, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just, what else do? We need to make deals for content.
Yeah.
What else do we need to do for the design? Do we need to build? We need to build.
Yeah,
so we need a programmer to code. And how many programmers?
probably
Programmers to code the app, right? You would need.
and the service. So
You need another, okay, so you need a programmer to code the app, and then maybe somewhat, do you need a networker? Networker, it was going to need to be, so you're going to need a networker. So I'm just going to, what's the name of your business?
Healthbot, yes.
Bot? Okay. Now you're going to need to source the name of your business, make sure it's not taken by somebody else. You can go on Companies House and look. So for HealthBot business, we are going to need to source a deal for tablets, deals for content, programmer to code the app, a networking programmer. We're going to need some kind of artist, are we?
Designer, yeah.
Yeah, and a design
For user experience.
artist. Now, what else are you going to?
Probably a user experience.
The design artist, shall we say that he can also
He can
do the
do that,
user
yeah.
experience? Okay, so what is all that going to cost? And how much and where? So what we're costing is, again, in milestones. So what it takes to get from, and so what it will take to design the offering in terms of personnel, resources, so that would be computers, so computers, licensing, right? Computers, software, what will you need? Or will you contract it all out? Or staff. Now, even if they're the staff is usually overhead. So staff is usually part of overhead. So the design budget is for so if so for example, if we get money for a research project for Kingston University, and I'm the one that goes out to do the research, when Kingston is calculating how much they're going to charge for that, they will bill for me for my hours of research, but they will also include extras in the billing that will cover the premises, the cost of the finance director, the cost of the secretaries, the cost of all that. And it's this overhead cost that they're always trying to lower, which is why you never see a receptionist anymore unless it's a big building. So this is kind of your design costing. Now if we can, do you want to see, should I do a slide with a table on it? So you can kind of see what a table looks like, just a really brief kind of table. Let's go, insert a table. So we need more rows. We'll just kind of go 4 rows for the 4 quarters. How's that? This is just a very basic table. So you would have Q1 for your first quarter, Q2 for your second quarter, Q3, and then Q4. And so at the top you would have sales. So you don't really have sales, but what income you have is you would have investment of however much amount you have figured out that you need. And maybe your investment could be staged for milestones, but maybe you've got investment first and then maybe you get a grant, right, of some kind. So we're going to have this. Now you would have 2 columns here, right? So you would have the investment in one column and then the amount. You know, you'd split that. But since we don't know what the amounts are at the moment, I'm just kind of giving you an outline of what your spreadsheet, this is your kind of forecasting spreadsheet. So you've got Q1, Q2, 3, so you've got an investment, and then maybe in Q2 you get a grant, and then maybe in Q3, what would you bring in Q3? You could possibly get a pre-order. And then in Q4, if you're saying, let's say we're going to be out on the market by the 4th quarter, you might start to be seeing some sales. So that could be a kind of way that you might look at structuring your sales. And these are estimates, but they have to be calculated estimates, and we're going to go into how you might calculate the estimates. But this is the kind of thing you are looking for. Now the grant could be a startup grant that you can get. It could also be some kind of tax rebate, could be an R&D grant. You need to look at the different kinds of grants that might be available to you. So we've got investment, so we've got that amount of money that's coming in, and it's the first quarter or the second quarter, or it might be staggered or whatever, so you put it in when that might be coming in. And then you've got your, you often have gross sales and net sales. So if, for example, we're going to do gross and net. So for example, if you've got your sales and maybe you're going into the Apple store, then you've got your gross sales are going to be 100%. Where's the percent? Right? So that's how many apps you've shipped, but then your net sales are going to be only 70%, because of course the app stores take a 30% commission right off the top. So this is gross. This is net. Okay, so if this is, and I'll just put in here gross net, and I'm going to put App Store just in brackets so you understand. This is e.g. App Store. That's what I need to do, isn't it? App Store. Because you always have to go through the App Store. And this is why Apple is so rich. You know, because they don't care about your app. They get 30% of it. If it sells one, if it sells, Then another thing you need to be looking for also is any kind of minimums. So, I think Apple pays you nothing until you've earned £2,000 or something, whatever the minimum is. So if you don't sell enough to hit the minimum, you don't get nothing, which saves them on paperwork. So, does everyone kind of understand gross and net sales? So now, the only thing that really matters, of course, is your net number. Because your net number, that's the money that you bring in. Another thing you need to think about is when is that money going to come in? Very often, you can make the sales in the first quarter, but then let's see if I can get another table, or if we can make it smaller. So let's go, I'm going to see if I can add another. And this is probably how you will keep building it. You'll just keep making it bigger. Let's see. Can I insert a column? Insert column. Okay. So we've got, and I'll probably insert another column. Okay. So we're just a bit bigger. So in the first quarter, you've got some investment. In the second quarter, look at what it's doing. Stupid thing. Silly thing. Why doesn't it just... Now, if somebody could make this in so it just automatically makes these things, these stupid columns the right size. It knows what I want to do, and yet it's making it awkward for me. So if anyone can invent a better thing in PowerPoint, I think someone did. I don't know. Is that person here that is going for a business that is better? So here we go. So if we go for Q5, now maybe this is when, so we make the gross sales here, but this is when the sales income actually arrives. So the App Store pays here, right? So this is when you actually get the money. So you made the sale here, but the money might actually come in here. So you need to kind of, when you're looking at your sales, you need to think you might make the sales in this quarter, but the money will actually come in the next quarter. So this is something your finance person also has to think about. And so if you've got sales in Q4, then the App Store will pay for Q4. And then here, the App Store would pay do you know what I mean? Okay, you get your money the month later or 2 months later, and if you're dealing with businesses, you might get it way later. So this is the kind of thing that your revenue person is looking at. So you can start doing these spreadsheets. So then you have to put in, so that's your income. So you've got your income in this line, you'll have like a total income down here. And then we're going to go for the expenses. So the expenses, there's going to be design costs, and then here, there's going to be overheads. I always forget to pay myself. You can't, if you've got a crew, you've got to pay them, but you've also got to pay your main crew. So you have to kind of figure out if there's 5 people, you have to put something in for overheads. So for example, in Q1 you might have design costs, then you might have development, then here you might have manufacturing or implementing or something here, and then here you've got there'll be shipping costs, distribution costs. So you can kind of figure out when these might come into play, because if you are going to need money to pay for your guy in China to make this thing, or if you're going to have to pay Netflix. When are you going to have to pay Netflix? Do you think maybe you can make a deal where you can pay Netflix later after you start getting paid? But if you're going to have Netflix in your offering, then you have to cost it. It all has to be costed. Because you can't ask for money and tell the investor how much money they're going to get back unless you do something like this. And the investor isn't going to believe you. Because what you're going to end up wanting to have, and then these you're probably going to want to have updates kind of thing, you know. And then you might have to, you'll have some maintenance anyway. Or you might have to ship more, you know, because maybe you've got some more sales coming in here, or you've got add new customer. If you're going to add a new customer, you're going to have to, inventory, you know, you're going to have shipping issues, aren't you? You're going to need more product. So how much is that going to cost? Do you see how that kind of works in? It's quite simple when you know, but it's it really is a mind bender to figure it out. So this is the kind of thing that the revenue person is going to do, and you should start looking at it now, because the sooner you get it on paper, the more focused you are, and then you will have it. Because what we're going to want to end up with at the end is kind of like a hockey stick thing. I don't know if I can do a hockey stick. Is it going to let me do a hockey stick? But that's what they want. You know, I wish I could do this. So it's going to be like this. Yeah, so if we, here, I'll put it up to the, where's the picture, the thing? Yes, so there's a hockey stick. So if we go back and we've been looking at for the forecasting spreadsheet, you can see how you'll have a total amount at the bottom. I guess I should add insert rows below. So this is going to be your, it would be your profit loss. And this, because you've got the investment, if this is going to be a negative number, obviously you don't have enough money. You need to get more money in, or you need to cut costs. And this is what this is the whole thing, you know, or you're going to have to go get a bank loan. So this is why you need to figure it out, because you might find that you have to change your design, because your design is just going to be way, way too expensive. So actually, before you start building anything, you need to figure out how much it's going to cost, and is it going to be too expensive to build, and do you have to shift your offering. However, whenever you do that kind of stuff, you have to talk to who? Who do you have to talk to? Come on, it's the one word I'm always saying. Customer. Yeah, okay. Now, customer. Customers must see salami poking through the rye right now. What kind of salami do they like? Who is your customer? Do they like salami? Do they have large breasts? Remember the breasts? Bravissimo, right? Bravissimo is a good business. They know their customer. Okay, the perils of not knowing. It was a whole lecture on Bravissimo, actually, and knowing your customer and developing a niche market. I know that business well. Yes, the perils of not knowing your customer. Now there have been a couple of things in the news lately that I'm going to show you and discuss with you that are really just the perils of not knowing your customer and what happens if you lose sight of your customer. And one of them is, see if you remember this guy. Can we, is this, you see that? Yes. Okay. Did anybody remember this one? This was this week, last week?
No.
Right? You guys know about the tweet?
No.
No? Oh, well this is now. This is Labour moves to limit damage over tweet as UKIP celebrates another Tory defeat. Now, let's just see. Okay. So, here is the timeline of what happened. So are you aware that there was a UKIP by-election in Rochester and Strood?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are aware of that. All right, so now, what's her name? Emily Thornbury, who is the Shadow Attorney General, was in Rochester and Strood to try and drum up votes for Labour. Now, Labour, for who's the customer? For what does, for Labour, for any political party, the customer is the voter. And the cool thing about being a politician is you actually only really have to go talk to your customers every 4 years, don't you? Because they don't talk to us otherwise, do they?
Yeah.
And this is a problem, because they're losing sight of their customers. Now, because Emily Darling, who probably lives in North London somewhere in Islington, was in Rochester and Strood, she did a tweet. She took a picture. Now, this is very small. I'll put it up here. It's too bad it can't. You see it there?
One with the English flag.
Yeah. She took a picture of this man's house, right? And in front of this man's house, this man lives in Rochester and Strood, and he has 2 English flags hanging out of his windows and a white van. Right? Now, what does this say about this man? The 2 English flags and the white van. What do you guys think about this man?
He's a hard worker.
Hard worker? What else do you think about this man? Or when you see this house, he loves his country? You're all being very nice, aren't you? Yeah, you're being careful. You're all being very politically correct. Now, do you think that's what she meant when she tweeted this picture? Because she didn't say anything. She didn't say go England or anything. She just said, her comment was, image from #Rochester. That was all. But somebody else, a Westminster gossip blog, Guido Fox, tweeted back, snob. Now, I was wondering, why would a picture of 2 English flags and a big white van then have the response, snob? And is it because she didn't say anything like positive about it, or is it because we have certain opinions about who might be living in that house with the 2 English flags and the white van? Possibly if it was just 2 English flags and no white van, we might have a bit of a different opinion. But as the gentleman over there said, he works hard. Now, who are Labour's customers? Voters, hard-working people, right? That's why this created such a stink and she had to resign. Because doing that, she forgot who her customer is, that this guy is her customer. This guy is the guy that is voting for her. Now, Labour has kind of forgotten about that guy, and they have not been looking at the competition at all, because they've been so focused that their competition is the Tories, that they have not looked around to see who else might be out there. And I've noticed that many of you in your essays, you don't take any note of the competition. You might say there is no competition, or the competition are these guys, but you don't pay them any mind whatsoever, to your peril. Labour did the same thing. And UKIP marched in and picked up the disgruntled working class vote that used to be exclusively belonging to Labour. Because they took them for granted. They forgot who they were. They didn't keep on top of what their concerns were today. That immigration is a concern for a British plumber. That immigration is a concern for people who work in restaurants, for people who do manual labor, for people who do the kind of labor that is being taken by immigrants who do it cheaper, for people who make sandwiches.
And then again, minimum wage.
Yeah.
That should be considered as well.
Yeah.
Gonna change that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Why would the national for this country would work for that kind of pay?
Well, that's a different issue. We're getting away from the customer.
Yeah, but they're both going inside because the cheap labor or some labor's coming across the channel.
Yeah.
That's what they're gonna go for.
Yeah. Whoever will work cheap. But what does that say about the values in our society and the businesses
The politicians.
Yeah. Well, it's also the businesses that you know, like that sandwich manufacturing place that is going to Hungary to hire people when they've got really a lot of unemployed people in their place. And it used to be a family-run business, and people used to make a decent wage and be treated well. And now it's a big business. It's offshore. I think it's Irish or something, and they're just in it for the bottom line. But they sell sandwiches to Marks and Spencer and Waitrose. So you know, if you want to go, you know, if you want to kind of protest, I'm now that I know how bad they treat their staff, I'm not buying sandwiches from Waitrose or Marks and Spencer anymore, because that's the only power we have, isn't it? Is to just boycott people. But we're getting away from the issue, the customer here, and but maybe we're not, because I am a Waitrose, Marks and Spencer customer. And I do care about working conditions, and one of the reasons that I shop at Waitrose or Marks and Spencer is because they pay their farmers decently, I think. And I think that the stuff is sourced from better places. So I will go shop there and pay that extra little bit. But now that I find out that they're getting sandwiches from people where it's just, they're being made to work in freezing conditions, and they're not being paid properly, and they're being poorly treated, and locals aren't being hired, you know, they've lost sight of their customer there too, because I'm not shopping there. I'm not buying their sandwiches, and I'm not shopping there. So the customer is hugely important. And if you think getting onto grocery stores, there's an article in the Evening Standard. Leahy, the old boss of Tesco's, when Tesco's used to make a profit, Leahy is shocked by how Tesco has lost sight of its customers. So we have, you know, the perils of there's the labor scandal, which took all of the heat away from the Tories losing that by-election. The labor scandal in Rochester, because they because a member of their party mocked one of their customers. That's what she was doing, wasn't it? She was mocking. And Tesco has lost sight. And what does he say? He says, Sir Terry Lee, he said he was shocked by what happened to Tesco since he stopped running the supermarket 3.5 years ago. Speaking at some sort of an event, the former chief exec said Tesco had lost sight of his customers. He said, although it's always important for a retailer to keep in touch with its clients and give them what they want, it's even more vital when the retailer occupies the middle ground between specialist discounters and upmarket rival. He would not be drawn on the scandals, but and then he just goes on to other things. Now, he's actually a Dragon's Den guy. He has backed 20 startups. This guy, so you might go to him with your. He might be sitting there on an investment panel, and if he was sitting there on an investment panel, he would want you to know a lot about the customer, because obviously he's been successful because he focuses on his customer. Now let's just think about it. Do anybody here shop at Tesco's? Do you shop at Tesco's? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Why do you think Tesco's lost their customers?
They weren't the cheapest.
They weren't the cheapest. So we think they've lost customers. So now he says they were occupying the middle ground. So if they were occupying the middle ground, why do they need to be the cheapest? So did they have it right that they were occupying the middle ground? Or were they really the discount shop, and now there's more discount shops?
No,
what
but
do we
maybe
think?
Because of the recession, the middle ground has gone down, so they look for cheaper.
Okay. So let's just go one more. I think you've got a really good point. So we've got Tesco. Okay. So they did occupy middle ground in supermarkets. And so the middle ground, do you translate to
So if
middle
we
class?
consider middle ground equal to middle class, then if the middle class has gone down because of the recession, then everybody's a lower class, and then they want cheaper.
Slips down the ladder due to economic forces, and Tesco doesn't change,
Mhm.
Yeah, actually, it's gone more expensive than before. Much
Ah.
more expensive.
And Waitrose do Tesco brands match on prices.
Okay, and,
I mean, like,
and
The food quality has
they,
not changed, but just the prices
Yeah.
have gone up. When you can either just go to Waitrose or Knox's Spencer's for slightly cheaper.
okay, so due to economic forces, and Tesco keeps,
Rising prices.
Tesco doesn't lower its prices, that's what it doesn't lower
It's cheaper, but not as cheap as it is.
prices, and is no longer cheaper, and then Waitrose comes in,
Pretty much similar price.
so,
But you could also say lost market share due to like Lidl and Aldi.
yep, okay, so Waitrose office, which steals their high middle ground, and then Lidl, etc., arrive. They actually make aggressive push, because they did market push, and seize low middle ground. Tesco left with, what are they left with? So they did occupy them, so, because this is an interesting story, because they were unbeatable 3 years ago. Now suddenly they're struggling. So they did occupy the middle ground in supermarkets. Middle ground, middle class. The middle class slipped because of the recession. Tesco didn't respond quickly enough, which is really what happened. It didn't lower its prices, and it's no longer the cheaper option. Waitrose comes in and offers price matches to steal their high middle ground, people that want quality. Lidl get their low middle ground. So the market's taken from them from both sides, isn't it? So if you're in the middle, you are really able to be squeezed. It's almost better if you're at one end or the other end. So you have to think, where is your business going to be in the market? That's why you have to know your customers really, really well. My husband will not go into a Tesco. I don't know, he had a bad experience once, and he just will not go in. And we have one, and it's convenient. And I said, just, okay, stay in the car park. I'll go in and I'll grab something. But, so, you know, there's personal prejudices, and why do you have them? Why does he hate Tesco? I don't know. But he does. So he says it makes him feel poor. So, you know, but there you go. So now the next customer thing we're going to look at is knowing your customer very well, and we can look at One Direction. Everybody love One Direction?
How's that?
Okay. Now, One Direction is a Simon Cowell band, right? Simon Cowell manufactured, absolutely, band. So here's somebody that has, like, you know, a designer, plucked these different elements from these different places in different countries and put, or different towns in the UK, and put them together in this band. Now Simon Cowell knows his audience very well. He knows his customer. So a manufactured band, and it was launched on X Factor, right? Right?
Yeah.
Was it X Factor? I don't watch the thing. Yeah, X Factor. Okay. Okay. Now, who is the customer for X Factor? Give me some. I don't watch it.
I don't watch it.
So how old is the
Mid-age.
customer?
No,
16. Okay.
6 and upwards.
Okay. So they're 16 years old. Female, male?
Everyone.
Female.
Female?
No.
Female? More females than male? What do we think? 60% female, 80% female? 90%? Okay, for X Factor. Okay, some of you females, do you watch X Factor? No?
I don't watch it, and 3 of my brothers watch it.
Okay, okay, are they 16?
No, they're in their 30s. One
They're in their 30s, alright, so they could be 30-year-olds.
That's impressive.
They could be female, but also male. What else? Where do you think they shop? People, where do your brothers shop?
The co-op across the street.
Okay, so let's see what we can, okay, shop at the
I
co-op.
think my family are a good example. They're weird.
Okay, do you think they might shop at Topshop?
Yeah.
Do you think they buy their clothes? Okay, buy clothes. The females, would they read magazines?
Yes.
Fashion magazines?
No.
No, not fashion.
Not fashion magazine.
Read girl magazines?
Yeah.
Fan magazines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fan magazines.
I love how we put a stop of fashion magazines.
Not fashion. We don't do fashion anymore now.
Okay, okay.
Everything's fashion.
What else do they do? Do they use Facebook?
Oh yes.
Yeah, would they use Facebook?
Oh my goodness. Hashtag.
True.
Would they tweet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what else would they do?
Party in Camden.
Party in Camden? In Camden? Do you think in Camden? Okay, not okay. So this is the audience for, we're thinking for X Factor, right? Now, okay, so we've got a disagreement with Party in Camden. All right. What else can we say about the audience for, what do we know about the audience for One Direction? About the
50.
You scream it up.
15-year-old,
Probably girls.
Mostly girls there.
mostly
I mean,
female. I think they would still shop at Topshop. Shop at Topshop. Do you think they would? Okay, now these people. Do you think they'd wear nail polish and perfume?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that?
Okay, so they shop at Topshop. Now we think they wear nail polish and perfume too. Okay, and we think they use Facebook
Probably too much.
and tweet. Okay, now One Direction knows their customer very, very, very well. Now, I don't know that it's One Direction that knows their customer, but, or if it's Simon Cowell that knows their customer. I think it's Simon Cowell. So here we've got, oh my God, it's only ID. Here we go, there's a picture of their fans, their customers. Right? Their customers, okay? I don't see any males. I think we should also say predominantly white, because now, for X Factor, are we saying predominantly white? Do we think? No? No? Okay, so here we're kind of going, okay, so we're going mixed. Jay says, all right. Now, but for here, we're definitely saying predominantly white. Okay, so now, here we are. They've had 95 international number ones and are worth 70 million. Now, whether they're worth 70 million or Simon Cowell is worth 70 million times 5, I want to talk to them, find out, but they're never going to tell me. So now there's a couple of things that they do. So because they know their band, This is kind of what they let's just see. So they play a 60s influence synth pop to America. So they've taken this British kind of look and attitude and taken it to the States where it's sexy and glamorous, because music is always better when it comes from somewhere else. This is very, very true. So now, what kind of products do you think they have? Do you think they're just selling music? No. Now let's go back to this customer. So we've got, let's see, so it's the end of the month, 2 days before Halloween. It's a time of year for ordering your cardboard Lewis and Liam masks, $3.99 each. Or a top-to-toe outfit exactly replicating Zayn's Letterman jacket look from the 2012 tour, £90. Along with One Direction's new album, 4, and a 3rd volume of their memoirs. They're 25. How can they have 3 volumes of memoirs? You know, what? Is it, I had a sandwich? You know, I burped? You know? Okay, 3 volumes. Okay, now, and the 3rd volume of their memoirs is called One Direction, Where We Are. Well, you know, that's all you're going to do when you're, you know, in the car driving to your next gig, right? So there's a new perfume out.
Yay.
A new single streaming online.
Wow.
And merchandise catalogs, DVDs. Let's see, what have we got? Yes. Martin Scorsese is a fan. Oh, each band member, this is knowing your customers so well. Each band member has a lipstick.
Seriously?
What?
Who wants to put one of them on their lip? Think that.
Yeah, but remember, they're a customer, right? We're looking for making money, right? This is knowing your customer.
I want to take a picture of that.
Yeah.
Take a picture of that page when you're done.
You can have the page. No, you can, yeah. Okay, so, right now, let's see what else have we got. Yeah. There's a documentary. Never mind, because, you know, they might not read, right? So there's a documentary. One Direction, well, they're American, right? One Direction, This Is Us, earned so much at the box office that Simon Cowell was genuinely annoyed it didn't receive an Oscar nomination.
Wow.
Has he got an ego or what?
Holy.
At a concert in Peru, 47 fans were crushed, needing treatment. There are oh yes, and what does every one of these people do? Come on. What's every single person who's a One Direction or X thing fan do?
Go to their concert.
You're going, you're getting close. You said eat, getting close. Come on.
What do you do?
Well, actually,
What
I
else
said
do you do?
idiots, but
Idiot, no, okay. What does every single person do?
Email.
Sleep.
Wow.
Sleep.
That's
They go to sleep
Overs.
8 hours a night or so, right? So, what are we selling them, One Direction? Come on, they sleep, what are we selling them?
Duvets.
Branded bedclothes.
How you say
Come on,
it?
branded bedclothes.
Curtains as well.
One Direction curtains, you know, girls for their bedrooms, right? You know, branded bedclothes. Okay, all right, okay. Yeah. Let's see.
it's probably what they want. Yeah, like them people like watching over them.
Yeah.
Listen.
Everything.
Yeah. Oh, and there's even other people that can make money off them, because
Me up next time.
at Simon & Schuster, 584 pages of fantastical smut that reimagines the band not as pop stars but as randy college students. Paramount have the movie rights. You know, I mean, because what do all these girls want? You know, in the end, that's another thing. When they're not sleeping, what are they doing in the bed? Or maybe fantasizing, because they're 15, I don't know, 15-year-old girls, they're thinking about sex, whether they're doing it or not. You know, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds thinking about sex. So we'll sell them a Randy movie, but because we know our customer, we know it can't be One Direction having sex, because, you know, they've kind of got this That's why you have the lipstick. You know, it's this relationship the girls have with the guys. So that you can't come out that the guy's gay. That would be very bad.
Sure.
Very, very bad. So I would say they're mostly heterosexual.
Or at least
Or pretending. Well, so the band has to be heterosexual because, you know, do you see any lesbians in this crowd? I don't know. Would you pick them out? I mean, I just don't. So I don't think the One Direction fans are pretending to be heterosexual. I think they are. Because I mean, they're all wearing makeup, aren't they? You know, I mean, you know, I shouldn't be judging lesbians or anything, but I'm not wearing any makeup.
It was someone's mom.
Yeah, there's someone's mom? Yes, that's the other thing. So now, what's the other thing these girls have, or these people have here? They have parents.
That's interesting. Who knew that?
And do we think they have parents with money?
Yeah.
These parents have money to spend on their darling daughters. Because do you think it's the 15-year-olds buying these branded bedclothes? Do you think it's them? I think it's your birthday present, it's your Christmas present, it's your, you know, what you do with your allowance, you know. So now, do you think they would sell like that in the UK? They don't, do they? You know, it's because... Is it because the UK audience is smarter? That sort of, we're getting back to that Rochester insult, aren't we? You know, why the US? I mean, I have lots of theories being a Canadian on why the US. They're nuts. That's why. They're just nuts. They'll get some bit in their teeth and then they'll just kind of go crazy about it. And then they'll forget about it.
You have the volume there, don't you?
Yeah, you have 300 million people, so you've got, whereas here you have to then appeal to the Germans and the French and all that kind of stuff. They're nuts and they're not deep thinkers for the most part. They have the United States of Canada, which is like on the outside, you know, California and Washington and everything, and then New York and, you know, Philadelphia and that kind of thing, and then you have the middle, which is the US. Yes, where the Tea Party reigns, the Republican Party. So I was trying to find, and then it says they wear knitted jumpers, so they wear the clothes that they are supposed to wear to kind of connect. And then the fans tweet them so much. Right. In terms of receiving individual attention from the boys, Francis and Elise's options are limited. Throwing a fake faint at the gig is rumored to have led others to backstage encounters, but probably their best bet lies in a dogged Twitter pursuit, sending the same message to a member over and over in the hope of snaring his attention and getting a smiley. This means sending it 400 times, well into the realm that Twitter considers service abuse, hence frequent suspensions. Now, One Direction is the first mega band of the social media age, and this means, because they do know their customers, that the boys have very little incentive to promote their wares through old institutional channels such as the press. They don't give interviews to Guardian and stuff. They don't need to. When they say in the interview, I can't find it quite at the message, it's like, we don't need to talk to you because our fans don't read The Guardian. And the guy actually says with a sneer, 15-year-olds don't read The Guardian. So you're lucky I'm talking to you, kind of thing. Yeah, it's in here somewhere, I can't find it. Because it's quite a long article.
This is for your parents, not for them.
Yes, this is probably for, you know, us or something. I don't know. I think it's just because she went to the States. She had no idea how big they were until she went to the States. That's how it started. And she saw them. Then she saw what a massive phenomenon. Oh, here's some pictures. Yes. Shall we see their branded goods? I didn't get to the end of the article. So we'll put that up there. And now we can have a look at the tastefulness of their branded goods. Apparently their perfumes all smell the same, according to the fans. One has a bit more green apple than the other.
Nice.
But look at this, you get an umbrella, Oh, look at the PJs. Look, just look. Come forward. Forward. Yeah. Or yeah. You know. And then, look at this. Yeah. Well, it's girls. What color do the girls wear? Well, I think we'll put that in there. That they like pink, right? They like pink. That's what we have with our daughters. And then we're gonna put they like pink. They like pink. Okay. So this is, but see how well they know their customer.
I like it.
You know, they know what color they like. They know how old they are. They know that, and they know what class they come from. They know what race they are. They know how they communicate. They know what they like to do of a day. They know what their fantasies are. You should know what your customers' fantasies are. We spend a lot of time in our heads thinking about our fantasies. If you can connect with that, you can make as much money as One Direction. You know, it's a lot of money. That is a successful business. So that's just, so for this week, I want all of you as a team to write customer profiles. Okay, so I'm just going to put the tasks. Let's see, who's got? Okay, so we've got the tasks for this week. Okay, so we need to have, from entrepreneur, we need to have some milestones. Okay, a milestones chart, or spreadsheet, or table, whatever. So this is the entrepreneur. I'll just put that in there. Entrepreneur is a milestones. So that's what the entrepreneur is doing. Okay. Then we've got the customer. I also want you to include images, gather images of who your customer is. So I want to know age, class, income, gender, race, parents, education and parents' education. Where they shop. Where they shop. So that's groceries, whatever. What kind, are they Android or Apple? Mac or PC? Mac or Windows, is it? Mac or Windows? All of these things about your customer we need to know. We need to know primarily what appeals, what about your product will appeal. And don't be politically correct. Don't be careful. Because One Direction is appealing to a 15-year-old sexual fantasy. And that's why they're doing it so well. They got one guy type for each kind of white girl. A girl that likes a blonde. You know, you look at them. The dolls! Dolls, right? And who have we got? Now we've got the blonde for the, and look at the clothing. So you've got the blonde guy with the check shirt and the blue jeans and the trainers. You've got the guy, he looks a bit creative. He looks sporty, the blonde. Then you've got a brunette that's creative with a bit long hair. He looks like he might take you out to dancing. Then you've got one that's more sporty. He probably looks like he'd take you to a football match, or he'd be quite macho, he'd be quite strong. And then they've got another guy that looks like he's a bit quiet. Maybe he reads. He's kind of a quiet type for the girl that likes a quiet type. And then they got a guy that looks like he's a real jiver, probably has quite a wit. So they've got every type that a girl might fancy. So what about your product will appeal to them? How can you get into that psyche of the customer? So then weekly tasks, so that we got entrepreneur and customer, so we'll do a new slide, weekly task, just to get you going. So we need the revenue person needs to start a spreadsheet. Forecasting the first year at least, right? So we can get the first year under our belt. The design also needs, so in order for the revenue to move forward, the design needs to cost and mile and schedule the design production process. And the customer, again, let's go back to the customer. Okay, so the customer needs to do a sales pipeline.
لا exactly better.
And a sales pipeline is merely how much will sell and when. So if you think, okay, like this tablet thing, you've got an eye on who your first customer is going to be, this hospital, how many beds have they got, how many are they likely to buy. This is the kind of level we're needing to get into now. You know, how much are you going to sell? If you're selling to a hospital, how many beds have they got? If you're selling to, you know, just who's your customer and how much are they going to buy? And then you will start from that, you will be able to figure out, again, coming back to the entrepreneur, to raise and what to offer. Because it's pretty tricky when you're sitting in a room, like I was a couple of days ago, and somebody offers you money. And they offer you money, but then, if somebody's going to offer you money, they always have what they want. So in this case, I have a plan for when I'm going to get my design and manufacture done, and I have a plan for when it's going to start. It's going to start in a few months. He wants to give me, because I figured that's how long it would take to get the money. So now I have an offer of the money, but he wants it to start now. So then the whole plan, because I'm not going to turn down the money, so the whole plan then needs to change and move forward and be flexible, and I want to take that money. But I can't say, okay, you give me the money now, my whole plan is going to be ready 6 months earlier, because I can't do that, because I know how long something's going to take. But what I can do is all of a sudden I have to come up with another milestone. I can't say, well, we were going to take the game from where it is now and add another 50 levels. Well, I can't do that because I don't have the time. But I could say, well, we can, because we have 10 levels at the moment, I can give you 20 levels by February, and you can give me a little bit of money, and then you can give me more money. So that, you know, so they might end up, because of their deadlines, giving me everything up front, and then I'll have to deliver. But I have to sit, the entrepreneur will have to sit there and say, okay, well, because they'll always, as soon as they give you money, they'll want it quick. They want something quick. So you might now be planning on this milestone that will take this long and do that, but then you need to kind of think, okay, if you were to get a smaller amount of money really quick, what could you do? And then even with just thinking about that, you might be able to come up with a plan that will help you generate sales quicker, because you will have gotten to your customer. So this is why all of this kind of stuff, it all works together. You have your own bit that you're doing, but we need to now start codifying and putting down in writing what our plans are and what we're doing, so that we can modify those plans and change them, and especially really look at our customer and think, we're planning to do all of this stuff. Does our customer really want it? Like, I did a test yesterday of my game, and we'd gone to a lot of effort to put something in, and then when we test, as the past couple of tests with this new feature in, I realized that it's not, people are saying they don't like it. I don't really like that. They like the thing before. And we thought we would change it to make it better based on some research. But the customers liked what was there. And now that we've put in this new feature based on the research, the customers don't like it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to go back to what we had before, which I hope we haven't lost the artwork for. Save everything. So this is why but it's better that I know now than I put something out that people that has a component in it that they don't like. They like most of it, but this thing that I thought was going to be really cool that we spent a lot of time on, they don't like. So that's, but it's better to know than to say, well, because some people have this, well, I spent so much time on it, it's got to go in there. Not if the customer doesn't want it. Out. It's gone. No matter how, kill your darlings, no matter how precious it was to you. This thing's really precious to me, bloody year. Out. It's gone. What we did intuitively in the spur of the moment is more effective than what we spent a year creating, which is often the case in something that is interactive, because you've got this other person, and people are more complicated. There's stuff going on the surface, and then there's all this stuff going on the inside that we never say, but it's in there. And that's why you really need to know your customer, because you have to figure out, there's stuff they say and then there's stuff they do, and you want to get to the stuff they do, because you want them to actually buy your thing, not think about how lovely your thing is. Do you see the difference? You want to motivate them to actually part with their money. That's harder to do. So that's done. You can turn it off. Okay.